Canberra police were confronted with a man covered in blood holding a large knife when they used their Tasmania on him. Chief Police Officer Justine Saunders says Anthony Caristo died in his Warramaga home on Tuesday shortly after he was Tasmania-ed. Share on Facebook, share on Twitter, tweet link ACT Chief Police Officer Justine Saunders. Photo, Carleen Minnie. Assistant Commissioner Saunders said from what she knew, the officers had acted entirely appropriately and they were severely traumatized by the event. These are tragic events. Our officers went there to help someone and now someone is deceased, she said. Related articles: Canberra man dies after police use stun gun. ACT Police will forge ahead with Tasmania rollout. We called welfare immediately and they will continue to support the officers. 2 officers were called to Larrakia Street about 11:30 and when neighbours heard a man yelling and smashing glass. Advertisement: Titan request ad push, ad spot -300 extension 250, pose 3, on Wednesday. Assistant Commissioner Saunders revealed police found Mr. Caristo, who was aged in his mid-50s, with severe lacerations on his arm and a severed finger. They called for an ambulance and, identifying the potential need for a Tasmania, also called another officer who carried one. Share on Facebook, share on Twitter, tweet link. Police were called to Larrakia Street in the suburb of Warramaga on Tuesday morning. Police tried to de-escalate the situation, but Mr. Caristo then took the knife to his leg and an officer used a Tasmania once to prevent him from hurting himself further. The Tasmania disorientated the man and he was able to be subdued and handcuffed. Assistant Commissioner Saunders said it was at this stage that officers realized Mr. Caristo was no longer responsive. Paramedics tried to revive him for 25 minutes, but he died at the scene. The incident is being treated as a death in custody and a critical matter, and Professional Standards is investigating. It will also be the subject of a co-wheel inquiry. No one else was at the house at the time, and no officers or paramedics were injured. Assistant Commissioner Saunders said Mr. Caristo was known to police, but said the nature of that would be subject to the co-wheel inquiry. She said Mr. Caristo's cause of death was yet to be determined, but obviously, mental health might be a factor in this act. Police Minister Mick Gentleman said it was way too early to speculate on the case but said Tasmania were subject to rigorous ACT policing regulations and training. Assistant Commissioner Saunders urged Canberras to reach out and get assistance if they were concerned about someone's mental health. The reality is, this is a huge part and a huge challenge of what police deal with on a day-to-day basis. She said we can anticipate on any day we will respond to 9 incidents that have a mental health aspect to them. Mr. Caristo has been remembered by family and friends as a kind, quiet man. He is survived by a daughter and young granddaughter as well as his mother, brother, sister and 2 nieces. His death comes as new figures show ACT Policing's use of stun guns rose 14.3% in the past financial year. Last year, the ACT government pledged $2.7 million to roll out additional Tasmania to all Canberra police officers over a 3-year period. Assistant Commissioner Saunders said this incident would not affect that rollout. While Tasmania were drawn 48 times in the past year, she said, they had only been fired 11 times in the past 12 months. Police have responded to over 13,000 calls for assistance which are potentially volatile and dangerous. So, in the context of over 13,000 calls, firing the Tasmania on 11 occasions I would argue is entirely reasonable. There are 94 Tasmania in use by Canberra police, but the force will gain an extra 281 Tasmania by July 2019. It still won't mean that every officer has a Tasmania in the act, but it will certainly increase our capability and ensure on any occasion when a Tasmania is required there will be access to one. She said there have been at least 6 Tasmania-related deaths in Australia since 2009, but this is believed to be the first time a person has died after being Tasmania-ed in the ACT Human Rights Law Centre. Executive Director Hugh D. Kritzer said the death was a tragic reminder of the risks of Tasmania. Police forces across Australia have overused Tasmania